This is the population density of Egypt. I know it might be kind of hard to tell. Now, this nation sits in the northeast corner of the African continent, and it looks more like a square, kind of. But you might notice this very long river that runs all the way through the country. That's the Nile. And basically, that is exactly where almost all of the population lives, especially where it runs off into the Mediterranean. Now, you might be asking, why, Drew? Why does everyone live next to this river in Egypt? And that would be because the rest of the country is just a massive desert. What's interesting is there doesn't seem to be too much population near Lake Nasser down this way. I mean, this looks like a pretty good sized body of water, but I guess no one wants to be next to it. It doesn't look that lush down here. There's not a whole lot of green, so maybe that's why. Here's an interactive map showing world population density, and you can really see the way it compares to all of the other African countries in the Sahara Desert. Unsurprisingly, there's pretty much no place to live in the biggest desert in the world. Who would have thunk? This map just really makes Egypt look even wilder. There's nothing on Earth that has this type of population density. I like how this is the focus point, and the further south you get, you can kind of see population start to drift off into basically nothingness. Even zoomed all the way out at the full map, you can still see it pretty clearly. That is, unless of course you're in denial. I'm sorry, I had to do it once. It's okay, Frank, you can put the boo sound effects. I know that one was bad. Land area versus US population, kind of similar vibes to the population density map that we saw before. This is using the, I think, 2020 US presidential election, though. You can see it's a lot closer than it might appear. If you just take land area alone, it's very different. Obviously, we've seen many maps that try to display this, but I think this does a pretty unique job putting everything in like a bubble like this. Why is your country not in the EU? We're going to explain what happened in each of these places. So probably the least surprising, Switzerland in yellow, because they remain neutral. They don't want to join. Then we have these green circles, which represent all the microstates of the continent. I guess the EU was never meant to manage microstates. Then there's Iceland and Norway, which they both agree they're worried about the effects of the fishing industry. But I guess Norway has two reasons, a similar reason to the UK as well, afraid of losing sovereignty. Belarus and Turkey with the human rights violations, as well as non-democratic practices. Interestingly, in the pink, these are countries that just haven't applied. They don't even want to join, but they also have corruption issues, so yeah. Bosnia is the only country that doesn't have a constitution that meets the EU's requirements. And unfortunately for Azerbaijan, they're a transcontinental state that's not in the EU agenda. These guys are just gonna have to hope that Turkey, Georgia, and Armenia get in first, and then maybe they can squeeze in. Obviously, a lot of this stuff is oversimplified, and there's probably way more complicated things going on. But who cares about the European Union when you have non-US fast food chains? We've already seen a similar map with US fast food chains. Now we're going to exclude them. Tim Hortons out of Canada is in the United Kingdom and Spain. I literally just want to visit our neighbors to the north just to try this. What is the hype about? Then we have Costa Coffee out of the United Kingdom. That is almost everywhere in the continent, at least in half the countries. We have then Jollibee from the Philippines, which for some reason that sounds familiar to me. Do we have those? Oh wow, we do have those. I think they're just in Southern California too. Then there's Telepizza out of Spain. I'm very curious what Spain does to pizza. How does Italy even allow this? What the hell is even that? That don't look that good. Nando's out of South Africa is only in their former overlord country, and Ireland as well. Dodo Pizza out of Russia. Russian pizza sounds scary. What do you think they put in that, like nails? Wait, this actually looks pretty good. I kind of want to try that. Canada has something else besides Tim Hortons. What is this? And there's Boost out of Australia. Of course, France with some fancy French shit. It just looks like it. Finally, there's Finland with his burger, who's completely taken over Eastern Europe almost. I think this is just Finnish McDonald's, basically. Apparently, the biggest fast food chain that is not US owned is Greg's out of the UK, though. Where out of the 50 states are Americans born? It's a really interesting way to display this data. Starting off with Alaska. In the top orange right here, we have born outside of the US. In the light blue, born elsewhere in the US. And in dark blue, they were actually born in the state. And the graph is showing from 1850 to 2020, but Alaska wasn't around in 1850. Well, it was just under someone else's control. So if you take my home state of California, obviously back in 1850, nobody was being born here. Nowadays, it seems like most people are. And I started with California because I think that state is also going to have a big impact on all these others, since we're moving to all these other places. Basically, the squares with a ton of light blue, like Arizona, Nevada, maybe even Wyoming, those are most likely Californians that are leaving and moving into these new places. You really see how less and less residents are being born out of the US as time goes on, which I guess shouldn't be surprising at all. The absolute craziest, though, has got to be the Deep South. These people are born here and they just stay there forever. Alabama Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi. West Virginia here looks kind of weird, but that's because they weren't around. They were just Virginia. Everyone was coming from Virginia. Here's a beautiful animation showing percentage of U.S. citizens living in each state. We started in 1790. Now we're moving up through the 1800s. You can see that New York is going to have a really huge majority for a while here. And then Pennsylvania too. Ohio is up there. So here's like the top 3 in the 1850s. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens after the Civil War. So the Civil War has just ended. Doesn't seem like that did much of a change here for percentage of Americans. Obviously California, that bubble right there, that thing's gonna blow up. So is Texas and Florida. Florida, look how small Florida is in the early 1900s. So we're after World War I and we're approaching World War II. There doesn't seem to be a drastic size shift. Okay, here's the baby boom. So 1950s, California getting real huge. So is Florida compared to where they were. It's the 70s and New York is just slowly losing and losing population. And finally, you can see that a lot of the percentage has left out of the Northeast and gone to more of the southern states. Here's a web of countries connected to their primary trading partners starting in 1960 going all the way to 2020. So at this time, you can really see how the West and NATO have so many more trading partners during like a pretty big time in the Cold War. The USSR was out here just trading with Egypt, Iceland, Romania, Afghanistan, and then Afghanistan was trading with some weird ones too. Look at the US trading with pretty much all of the Western Hemisphere, and then Japan was a pretty big deal back in the 1960s. 2 nukes and 2 decades later, and we were good friends. Of course, just a reminder, this is their primary trading partner, so a lot of smaller countries are going to connect to a slightly bigger one. UK still kind of had their British Empire, but it was slowly going away. Here's the same map for the 1970s. You can see the USSR up here is still kind of struggling. Afghanistan was still on their list of trading partners, but weren't they going to be at war soon? Look at how fast Japan came out of nowhere. Look at all this. Japan has their own little web over here that they've started with a lot of Asia. UK is still kind of holding on, but look at Portugal go, and France and Germany with their African colonies and some smaller members in Europe. We've got the 1980s, and you can really see these bubbles begin to change. France, Germany, and the UK are still major players, although the UK is slowly losing. Then we have new people popping up like Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Australia. Then there's the Soviets who are still struggling. I mean, I think they're getting like slowly new friends, but not very many. It's 1990s and the Soviet Union is only going to exist for like a year or 2 in this decade. We've got a new bubble popping up, China over here. And I have a feeling they're going to get huge. Italy becoming a little bit of a player right here, trading with a lot of African nations. And look at the USSR finally trade with Austria. Okay. 2000s and the USA is just dominating right here. I mean, they're like pretty much this massive black hole, and then they're surrounded by stars and then planets. Is this supposed to reference like the universe? And you have these micro bubbles like India, South Africa, and oh my goodness, GB. Great Britain has really fallen off. Look at Japan go, and Japan is connected to China now. 20 years later, and China has their own galaxy going on. They are connected to the US, but it seems like they have a lot more planets. Interesting to see Tonga's primary trading partner is New Zealand, and Latvia's is Lithuania. Of course, Russia still has their friends from the former Soviet states. South Africa and Brazil doing well. Oh, this is how you can see BRICS. This is where BRICS begins. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That is an economic alliance. A lot of people think that's a military alliance. Germany has really taken over Europe, and then there's this whole other bubble down here in South Asia. Finally, this is what we currently look like in 2020. What a massive change. It looks to be all Germany, China, and the USA. Where did Japan go? I know Japan was like an economic powerhouse in the 90s. I guess that's what stagnant or declining population does to you. Dang it, I should have watched North Korea during this whole thing. Would have been interesting to see North Korea trade with anyone else besides China. Look at what the British have been reduced to. Their primary trading partner is just Turkey. Italy was doing okay for a second there. Italy, France, there's a lot of European powers that kind of fell off. Spain's doing good. USA still has some homies, but they've lost a lot. Oh wait, that's not Great Britain. That was Georgia. I was confused by the circle there. That's Great Britain. There's probably so many smaller details that I missed here that we could have dived into, like the African country of Gambia loving Norway. What's the difference between an endemic, epidemic, and pandemic disease? So an endemic disease is constantly present in a population or region with relatively low spread. Epidemic is sudden increase in cases spreading through a large population. And then finally, pandemic is sudden increase in cases across several countries, continents, or the world. I guess that helps. I'm still confused where exactly we fall on this list. Pre-Indo-European languages in Europe that are still actively used today. Basically, really, really old languages like Dagestani. I've heard of that one. Now, 4 out of the 5 are exclusively coming from this like Caucasus mountain range. You notice how like mountains seem to preserve things? You could stay isolated, I guess. And then there's this part of northern southern Spain or southern France in kind of the Navarra region. This is amazing that these languages still exist to this day. I hope we are able to like log them because Indo-European migration started 6,000 years ago, so been around for a while. There's a spot in the mid-Atlantic where you can travel to 60 different countries in a perfectly straight line. Now you might be asking yourself, but Drew, those lines are not perfectly straight, and you would be correct. Again, flat maps strike again. So yeah, it would be perfectly straight if this was a globe. But this is actually incredible. The most shocking though has to be like some of these routes you can take to the Oceania, as well as this longest one of all traveling just south of Argentina and Chile. You can get all the way till, you gotta go this way, New Zealand and Vanuatu. A lot of these islands help as well. They help rack in that 60 country number. So basically, if you're for some reason stranded in the mid-Atlantic, go to this point first, 20 degrees west, 18 degrees north, and then just go in literally any direction in a straight line. That's all you gotta do. It's very simple. You might get lucky and end up in Siberia, Russia. Or wait, actually Japan. Oh, I didn't even realize that you can make it to Japan. I could barely see this thing. Look at this straight line. Oh, you have to pass right by. That is incredible. Here's a video showing annual best-selling gaming consoles starting in 2000. All right, so we've got, of course, the PlayStation 2, which is going to dominate for several years. The PlayStation 2 is still, I think, the best-selling console of all time, right? Are they ever going to pass that thing up? The PlayStation 2 is going to continue to outsell the PS3 for a few years, up until 2009 is when they finally did it. Okay, the Wii is starting to dominate. Xbox. I'm very curious what the new numbers, the new consoles are doing. So here's the PS4 and the Xbox One. So the PS4 just dominated the Xbox One for the whole time. Here comes the Nintendo Switch, and let's see what's going on with the new stuff. PS5, Xbox Series X. Now is Xbox, I don't even know if they're keeping up better. I guess they kind of are. They can't get destroyed by Sony for 2 generations in a row, right? That Nintendo Switch still going strong too. Sad that no one cared about the Wii U. I'm just surprised to see the Nintendo Switch technically doing better than the Wii, but we'll see how long this life cycle lasts. Change in day length, minutes per week, as the year progresses at 51 degrees north. So the person that made this lives at 51 degrees north. I don't know where that is. Oh wow, that's above all of the US, but a lot of Europe are on this parallel. So basically at the end of June, you have the longest days, which are 14.5 hours. And then in December, you have the shortest amount of daylight, which is only 9.5. But then every week in January, February, and March, the sun is staying out for longer and longer. Look how much the sun stays out every week into this period, rapidly lengthening days. So every week they get 25 additional minutes of sunlight. Is that right? That seems crazy. And then the opposite happens in August, September, and October, where they're losing 25 minutes of sunlight every week. I'm glad to be in this pattern because I can't stand those like really weird December days. It's like no sunlight at all. Interestingly though, the shortest day of the year isn't the same as the earliest sunset. My bad. I think I've been doing that my whole life. And big thanks to this month's supporters:
LuxembourgLover,
Alfonso M6,
AryanAfterHours,
Drew's Argentinian grandpa,
Barnsky W,
bringbackpolandball,
McBlorf,
istoledrewspetdog,
iLoveMarx,
Majestic Unicorn,
Max Cooper.
RyeThePie,
Why am I doing this?
Drew's Arab Sugar Daddy,
Krombopulos
Mimoshiki,
Michael,
Louise,
Canadian
Adam
Union,
Stillerman,
Alex Whitley is Mega Chad,
aPhatNarwhal,
Corey,
Philipp RF,
Robert E,
ortin 5610,
and Sussy Muliati.